Out front tonight, Trump turning to voters, asking them to pay his bond, his $464 million bond. He says that it's unfair, so he wants other people, regular Americans, to foot the bill. A whole new definition of other people's money. Sending this text message, quote, "Keep your filthy hands off Trump Tower. Democrats want to seize my properties." And then you see there the link to donate money. Now, Trump says he does not have enough money to finance the $464 million bond, and the clock is ticking. He has just 5 days to come up with the money, or the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, is threatening to seize some of his most beloved properties. But James tonight making it clear, she says, that Trump does have the money. He just doesn't want to fork it over. In a filing tonight, James writes, quote, "If Trump were truly unable to secure the bond, quote, they at minimum should have consented to have their real estate interests held by the Supreme Court to satisfy the judgment." Now, Trump has refused to do this. In fact, what he has said is that the best he can do is $100 million of the $464 million required, which is why this story today caught our attention in the Palm Beach Post. They report that Eric Trump said in a statement today, quote, "We look forward to adding this beautiful building to our already amazing property and club, Trump National Golf Club, Jupiter." Now, Trump is referring to plans to build a new office complex at the Trump National in Jupiter. And according to the Palm Beach Post, the price tag on this building would be $12 to $15 million. Now, if that really is the case, this one example just serves to raise the very real questions that are out there. Because Trump cannot say he does not have any more money if there's 15 million here and 15 million there and who's now how over there. You get the point. Maybe he's just hoping that nobody looks too hard, that the web of complexity of his businesses is just too opaque to see through. Because maybe he just wants people to see only the buildings that he is refusing to put on the line, the ones that made him a brand to America in the open of The Apprentice, the ones that define not just his net worth, but his self-worth. And that is why the very thought that New York could seize Trump's properties is deeply personal to him. I mean, just listen to this. It goes all the way back when we talk about net worth and self-worth. Here is Trump with Connie Chung in an interview in 1990.
When I buy the Plaza Hotel, to me that's exciting because it's a trophy. It's a total trophy. When I build Trump Tower or when I build the Taj Mahal.
Yeah, but you know, it sounds like baubles. You understand
but it's exciting. And part of the reason it's exciting is because they're mega deals, they're important deals, they're glamorous deals. Everybody talks about them, everybody reads about them and writes about them. There's a level of importance there that I think also somewhat turns me on.
Well, there is one asset above all, though, that may matter to him even now more than any other.
My thing would be Trump Tower next to Tiffany. That really is the building that's very special.
Even though Grand Hyatt was the first.
Well, Grand Hyatt was the first, but I wasn't married to it. I got a price that was a good deal for me and a good deal for Hyatt. They were really happy to get it. But
no emotional ties.
There was no real emotional ties. A little bit. Trump Tower would be the thing I'm really married to in terms of real estate.
And so this might be one divorce that Trump is not willing to go ahead with. Kara Scannell is out front live outside Trump Tower. And Kara, the Attorney General is not letting up on Trump here as these hours and days tick away. And she is telling him to find the money.
Yeah, Aaron, that's right. I mean, she's telling the appeals court not to even take into consideration Trump's filing on Monday, where he said that they have tried to get a bond from 30 different insurance underwriters, none of them willing to underwrite and secure the bond backed by property. And she's saying that the appeals court shouldn't give that any credence. They're saying that Trump doesn't even detail what efforts they made to get the bond, what kind of terms the underwriters were offering, what properties Trump offered to put up as collateral. That was one of the points they pushed back on. I mean, another point is she was, even taking a swipe at Trump and saying that maybe one of the issues is that the properties are just not worth what he believes that they are. That, of course, was the entire point of the trial, that the judge had found that Trump did inflate the value of his properties. I mean, the AG's office also suggesting that maybe there could be a pooling of underwriters that all come together and put up the $500 million. Trump's team has said that that was not feasible. They are pushing back tonight, and in a statement, their attorney Chris Kise says the Attorney General's latest filing demonstrates her continued willingness to misrepresent the facts and misconstrue applicable law in her political crusade against President Trump. Today's missive does not even bother to cite New York case law. Now, this is ultimately up to the New York Appeals Court. They have now heard from the Attorney General's office, they've heard from Trump, and they may even hear more from Trump as the clock is ticking here. Now, Trump has asked them to be permitted to put up a smaller dollar amount than the $500 million, or not require them to put up any money until this whole appeal is over. The AG's office opposes that. As you say, Trump has 5 days to come up with the cash, or the New York Attorney General's office, if the appeals court doesn't rule, could move forward and try to seize some of his assets. And Trump's family has called these assets Mona Lisas. Aaron?
Mona Lisas. All right. Thank you very much, Kara. And should point out, of course, that New York law, as it would apply to anybody else, would require them to put the money up. So not having to put it up just because it's a large amount would go against precedent and the experience of anybody else who owes it. All right, out front now, Ryan Goodman, our out front legal analyst, also Stephanie Grisham, the former White House press secretary for then President Trump, and Jonathan Greenberg, investigative journalist who has covered Trump and his finances for decades. He says that Trump did not tell him the truth when he worked at Forbes about his wealth in an effort to get on the Forbes list of wealthiest Americans. Ryan, let me start with you. So just the very basics here. Trump says he's got $100 million. And by the way, he has pledged as much to E. Jean Carroll in that case. So that would mean a couple $100 million at least have been put forward. Says he doesn't have the remainder. But you've read through the filing from the New York Attorney General today when she says, well, you could have gotten backing from insurance companies for little pieces of it as opposed to the whole thing. You could have had assets be held by the Supreme Court. Is she correct in her points?
Basically, yes. So she's correct in the sense of there are other options he could have gone with, which is to put some of his property in a receivership that the Supreme Court would then have control over. That would even be smart in some sense, because then at least he chooses the properties. She doesn't choose the properties, so she might go after the Mona Lisas and the like. So those are options he had. He had other options of trying to at least get closer to the $550 million with insurance companies by accumulating it through different companies. But he hasn't seemed to do that at all. So there are other ways in which this just doesn't make sense. And there's another one as well, which is that he should have probably prepared to lose the case. And if he prepared to lose the case, then he would have actually thought well ahead before any kind of fireside sale.
All right. So when you say, a fire sale, that is the situation that he is in right now, if indeed the option is to sell a property. Jonathan, and this is exactly what you've looked at. You finished an in-depth analysis of Trump properties here in New York, those Mona Lisas as they refer to them. And I just want to show everybody the math that you did. This is the fire sale value. So you're knocking 20 to 40% off the value of each of these buildings to get to the value on the screen. 7 of these properties here in New York. That gets you just actually to right about the $464 million that he would need. The point that you're making here is that you got to add all of them together to even get there. Now, he has said that he has $100 million separately. But, Jonathan, how quickly could such a sale happen? You're looking at a lot of properties in 5 days.
Yeah, I don't think he could raise this money. This is the game plan for Letitia James when she seizes the properties, to really seize the properties that are the most valuable and the least complicated in terms of moving to a quick sale, which would be probably about 60 days she could sell these, especially if she cuts him out of the deal, as I propose, and deals directly to his partners in the 3 commercial real estate properties, and then goes directly to sell the apartments and the condominiums, including Trump Tower, for their real market value at a reasonable discount of 20%. I've discounted the commercial properties by 40% from what Forbes had estimated a year ago, based on the fact that commercial property is not exactly a hot commodity, interest rates are up, and rents are really down. So I'm assuming, and that Trump probably lied about his cash flow when Forbes reported that a year ago. So basically, it takes a lot of properties. This is 90% of his New York real estate holdings. It's his 7 largest holdings. And it's a game plan for Letitia James to act without Trump, to cut him out of the deal and just focus on getting the money for New York State and put him on the defensive for the first time instead of the offensive.
I'm having not even laughing, but having flashbacks to when all my properties were mortgaged on the board of Monopoly and how badly that felt. All right, so there's another thing that could come into play here, and that's bankruptcy. And Stephanie and Ryan, I want to ask you about that. First, Ryan, in a debate, Hillary Clinton had said Trump declared bankruptcy 6 times. Washington Post fact checker found that to be true. So this is something he has had no problem doing in the past. And in fact, I don't know what bankruptcy really means when you still get to live the life that he continued to live even when, quote unquote, bankrupt. So I want to ask Stephanie about this now because it's psychological and emotional as well. But could he do this by Monday? And would it make sense?
There's a world in which it makes sense that if he declares bankruptcy, there's an automatic stay on the ability of Tish James to enforce the judgment. At the same time, it doesn't make sense long term. She would still, in the end, be able to claim the judgment because at the end of the day,
properties are there.
The properties are there, and these kinds of properties, because of the judgment and because the ruling is about fraud, and because it's owed to a governmental entity, you can't actually. The word is discharge. You can't discharge those debts through bankruptcy. So he wouldn't be able to actually get out of those particular debts.
Yeah.
But at least it puts a stay on very quickly. So that would be one idea for him. Though, of course, there could be other costs to him politically and otherwise.
And Stephanie, that's what I want to ask you about, right? I mean, he has built his entire his candidacy, his political career about being this billionaire, successful businessman. So yes, as part of that, there were 6 bankruptcies. But that is something that who knows how many Americans really know that or think that. You don't generally associate bankruptcy with success. So do you think he would be willing to take that route at this time in the election?
I do. I think that rather than lose Trump Tower, Mar-a-Lago, or Bedminster, those top 3 for sure, he would declare bankruptcy. And it's because exactly what you said, he's done it before, but also he will lean into it. Personally, privately, will he like it? No, he'll hate it, but he'll lean into it and say, this is what I was forced to do. This is because of the left wing. This is because of the New York liberals. They're doing this to me. This is just a business move to protect myself. I can hear it now. He won't like it personally, but I could absolutely see him doing that. And then, Ryan could probably speak to this more, but once he becomes president, I don't know what kinds of things he would have. I'm sure there would be people who would then suddenly be willing to bail him out of his bankruptcy. So I'm not sure how that would work, but I think anything to stall it and anything to keep those properties he'll do.